Shalom. Today is March 7th again, and we're in 153 days of the war between Israel and Hamas. But if we look at what Israelis are reading today, it's not mainly about the war, but it is actually about the State Committee of Investigation of Mount Hermon disaster that happened almost 3 years ago. And the investigation results came out yesterday. So the newspaper is full of this. Haaretz, left-wing newspaper, says that the committee of the investigation of Mount Hermon disaster has put a lot of personal responsibility on Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it says he should have known, if he did not know, he should have known about the dangers in the mountain. There's Prime Minister Netanyahu with other officials that are to blame, according to the investigation. Yediot Achronot as well has here a quote from the findings about the bad management that was in the mountain during this case, during the tragedy, that was led by political interests. I'll give more details about this inside in a moment. Here we see again the officials that are to blame, and here's Prime Minister Netanyahu, the head of everyone. Down here, the red headline reads, Rosh HaShabak, the head of the Shabak, which is the Internal Security Services of Israel, has ordered to begin investigations of the failures of October 7th. So here there is more investigations, but on a completely different topic, which is the war. Ha'achra'im, the responsible ones. Ha'ashamim, the guilty ones. So just to give you a background, this happened almost 3 years ago, in April 2021, where a big crowd crush happened. 45 men and boys died on Mount Miron. That is the site where the grave of this revered 2nd century rabbi is, where traditionally over 100,000 ultra-Orthodox men and boys go visit every year at the holiday of Lag BaOmer, which is a few weeks after Passover. So 3 years ago, 45 men died, and that brought about a very long investigation, and the findings of this investigation came out yesterday. So that's why it's big news. Doch Miron, it reads, the report of Miron, and it reads here in the subtitle, Hasakonot hayu mukarot, the dangers were well known. Ha'azharot hayu shalchan, the warnings were on the table, and these are the findings of the investigation committee. So this is, of course, very, very detailed. We'll spare you, but it reads that the Prime Minister has a lot of responsibility. Here he is, the head of the police, Shabtai. He knew about the danger, the life-threatening danger that was taking place every year in this site. And more guilty ones, and why are they to blame? And if you're asking yourself, why is this taking major headlines, the first few pages of these main Hebrew newspapers, it's because this is kind of a national tradition. Over 100,000 ultra-Orthodox people, men and boys, no women, visit this grave site every year. And the ultra-Orthodox have a lot of power in the government. 45 men and boys were killed, were crushed to death. So a lot of people were affected, and something that happens every year. And of course, the goal is that this does not happen again. They really want to prevent this kind of tragedy happening again. The next article is still about this disaster, where the families of the ones who are killed are responding, and some of them are just really angry, and they're saying now all of Israel knows that the leaders of Israel knew about the dangers, and the death of my brother, in this case, could have been prevented. So their responses are very, very emotional, understandably. Israel b'milchama, Israel at war. Hora'ah shel Rotem Magen, the order of Rotem Magen. He's the head of the Shabak, and it says the Shabak is beginning to investigate the failures of October 7th, and this is in addition to the State Controller Office. This is in addition to the IDF right now, also the security services of Israel that were supposed to know somehow about October 7th, and intelligence-wise or many other areas, but the failure was so big. They're beginning to have operational investigations to understand how there was no alert before October 7th about the atrocities. Because of the fact that the process is happening during the war in Gaza, And there's a lot of terror to prevent in the Judea and Samaria area through Ramadan, the holy month of the Muslims. So the assumption is that this investigation of October 7th will take a few weeks, perhaps even months, it says. So in this, really, the Shabak is joining the IDF in investigating their failures, their mistakes that allowed October 7th to happen in a way. Next are two soldiers that died in the last few days. One in the Gaza Strip, David Sasson, 21 years old, from Ganot Hadar. And his friends say it is hard to digest that he will not return to us. He was from a special unit that had trained dogs come in with them into combat fighting. And the other one is Israel Eliyahu Suisa. He was a lone soldier, and he was on vacation, actually. It says, he left Gaza for a while, and he was killed in an accident on one of the roads in Israel. So it's just very, very tragic. May their memory be blessed. The next part of the newspaper is dedicated to the International Women's Day that's happening tomorrow. It reads, Yom Ha'isha Ben-Leumi, the International Women's Day 2024. And it's different stories about many women, which many of them were involved in on October 7th or during the war. Not all, but many. And it reads here, Giborot, heroes, a picture of 6 women that have their personal stories and quotes in the next few pages, how they were just heroes. They served as heroes on October 7th. One of them says, we keep Shabbat. That means they do not drive in Shabbat, because we quickly understood that this is a big story on October 7th. We decided that we're sending ambulances and equipment to the south. I was sure that I would meet many soldiers and cops, but the streets were empty. I worked bli hafsaka, without any break. We took care of injured ones, we calmed them down, and we made sure they were staying conscious. Here's a picture of her. Giti Bar is her name. And this is one of many stories of women that just did so much on October 7th, endangering their lives. Here are more stories, more quotes. The next one is about women that their sisters are still in captivity in Gaza. And it's their stories, their feelings, and their really sadness and anger towards what's happening. So the next few pages are continuing to be about women in Israel for the International Women's Day. For more updates and stories, visit us at allisrael.com. You can follow us on our social media. Like this video if you liked it. This is Rotem Magen for All Israel News.